C++ gives us an interesting ability. Calling a function actually has a performance hit on our programs. Now, it's a minor one with modern programs, but it does exist. There's a whole process that gets called when we call a new function. We have to take the existing running application, suspend it, push it onto what's called the call stack, including all its variables and information. Then we have to generate a new set of variables for our new function to run, execute that function, and then once that function exits, we then have to go back to our call stack, retrieve all of our old information using a process called popping those variables and information, and then resume our function from where we left off. While this is not a huge performance hit in a modern computer, it does add up, especially if functions are being called over and over again for something very small. So in this example, where we have a simple function called add, and we're adding a couple numbers together, we might use this because it abstracts our information and makes it easier to read and modify as we're performing our operations. However, because this is a short function, the time it takes to generate the new function call and to execute it and then return versus the time we actually spend inside the function is going to be very high. Therefore, we might want to look at optimizing the runtime. That can be simply done using the inline keyword. Simply in front of our function, we type in inline. What this does is gives a hint to our compiler that instead of calling a function, it might want to replace the contents of that function where the function call is itself. That way, it acts as if we don't call a function. Instead, the compiler essentially does like a copy and paste into our calling function. This is similar, but not the same as the old C-style macro keyword. Inline is preferred because it could do things such as work with classes a lot easier. So this is just a real simple way to speed up the execution, but there are a couple of downsides. Number one, it is a hint to our compiler. That means that it may not actually occur. Because it is a hint, the compiler may choose to not do it based upon the code that it sees inside the function. So certain commands are going to make it less likely for the inline function to occur, such as a goto statement, switches, etc. The second downside to the inline command is because it's going to be copy and pasting code into our main application, potentially in multiple places, our actual executable might become larger than if we were to use a function call. While this should not be a big issue on a modern computer with current storage capacities, it is something we have to be aware of.